I didn't like painting rooms and fixing doorknobs and washing screens. But Denny liked it, apparently, because the more she gave him to do, the more quickly he completed his tasks, so he could collect his reward, which usually included a lot of nuzzling and stroking. Soon after she moved into our apartment, they were married in a small wedding ceremony, which I attended along with a group of their closest friends and Eve's immediate family. Denny didn't have any brothers or sisters to invite, and he explained his parents' absence simply by saying they didn't travel well. Eve's parents made it clear to all involved that the house in which the wedding took place, a charming little beach cottage on Whidbey Island, was owned by close friends of theirs who were not in attendance. I was allowed to participate only under strict rules. I was not to roam freely on the beach or swim in the bay, as I might track sand onto the expensive mahogany floors, and I was forced to urinate and defecate in a very specific location next to the recycling containers. Upon our return from Whidbey, I noticed that Eve moved through our apartment with a greater sense of authorship, and was much bolder in her actions to move and replace things, towels, linens, even furniture. She had entered our lives and changed everything around. And yet, while I was unhappy with her intrusion, there was something about her that prevented me from mustering any real anger. I believe that thing was her swollen belly. There was something about the effort it took for her to lie down on her side to rest, having removed her shirt and undergarments, the way her breasts fell just so across her chest as she lay on the bed. It reminded me of my own mother, at mealtime, when she sighed and shrugged herself to the ground, lifting her leg to expose her nipples to us. "These are the devices I use to feed you. Now, eat!" And while I greatly resented the attention Eve lavished on her unborn baby, in retrospect, I realized I had never given her a reason to lavish that same attention on me. Perhaps that is my regret. I loved how she was when she was pregnant, and yet I knew I could never be the source of her affection in that way, because I could never be her child. She devoted herself to the baby before it was even born. She touched it regularly through her tightly stretched skin. She sang to it and danced with it to music she played on the stereo. She learned to make it move around by drinking orange juice, which she did frequently, explaining to me that the health magazines demanded she drink the juice for the folic acid, but both she and I knew she was doing it for the kick. She once asked if I wanted to know what it felt like, and I did. So she held my face against her belly after she had drunk the acid, and I felt it move. An elbow, I think, pushing out perversely, like something reaching out from the grave. It was hard for me to imagine exactly what was going on behind the curtain, inside Eve's magic sack, where the little rabbit was being assembled. But I knew that what was inside of her was separate from her, and had a will of its own, and moved when it wanted to, or when prodded by the acid, and was beyond her control. I admire the female sex, the life makers. It must be amazing to have a body that can carry an entire creature inside. I mean, other than a tapeworm, which I've had. That doesn't count as another life, really. That's a parasite and never should have been there in the first place. The life that Eve had inside of her was something she had made. She and Denny had made it together. I wished at the time that the baby would look like me. How are we doing? Oh, we got plenty of time. You guys are cool? You guys are happy? Yeah. All right. Let me tell you a really quick story, and then I'd like to read another short passage, and then we can move on to bigger and better things. Second most frequently asked question. Where'd the name Enzo come from? Surely some car aficionado in the audience has some idea. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Enzo Ferrari.
Enzo Ferrari! Excellent. Yes. Enzo Ferrari is the great car manufacturer and designer, famous for the prancing horse emblem, for the red automobiles that you often see trolling up and down Girard Boulevard on a Saturday night in La Jolla. Obvious choice for a race car driver to name his dog Enzo, right? Yes, I think so, but I have to confess something. When I first started writing this book, Enzo was not named Enzo. When I first started writing this book, Enzo was named Juan Pablo. What? I thought it was a good name. Juan Pablo Montoya. Hello? Great race car driver. I thought it would be fun, and for me as a writer, it gives me a lot to work with. You know, I got Juan Pablo, JP. I can make Pope John Paul jokes. Juan Pablo, John Paul. Hello, guys, with me? I guess it wouldn't work. But anyway, so remember when I told you I went away to write for that first weekend? My wife said I want to see 40 pages when you get back. I got her 39 of those pages. And she read them, and she said, okay, you can keep going on the dog book. She said, it's good, you've got something here, keep going. She said, but there's one thing. You can't name the dog Juan Pablo. I said, why not? It's a good name. She said, no, it doesn't ring, it doesn't sing. It's not the right name for this dog. You need a better name. Now, at the time, we had 2 sons, my older boys, Caleb and Eamon, and we were thinking of having a third child. I myself was kind of hoping for a little girl. I thought, we'd done the guy thing. I wanted to have that little girl experience. You know how little girls are. They're so cute and sweet, and they have the white dresses that they wear, and they have their long blonde flowing hair, and they skip barefoot through the fields, right? Scooping up armfuls of wildflowers that they give to their daddy as they sit on his lap and coo in his ear. I wanted that experience. But I told my wife I was okay if we had a boy as well, under the one condition, that I wanted to give him my favorite name of all time, Enzo. Because I think it's a great name. And you know what? You can't beat a kid named Enzo in the schoolyard, I'm telling you. Think about it. I mean, Enzo on the playground would be awesome. And so I said, if we're going to have a boy, we're going to name him Enzo. And I believe her response was, if I quote exactly, I'm pretty sure it was this: there's no way on God's green earth we are naming a child Enzo Stein. Well, any of you who've been in long-term relationships know there are often bumps in the road, and these are things we have to work through. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean anything's broken. It just means that, sometimes we have to iron some stuff out, and we come out stronger because of it, of course. But so we had this little contention over the naming rights of our as yet to be conceived child. So then she said, now fast forward again to, I gave her those pages. She said, you can't name the dog Juan Pablo. I said, what should I name the dog? And she said, how about Enzo? And I said, well, that's a good name, That's my favorite name, though. And you know very well that if we have another child and he's a boy, we're going to name him Enzo. And you also know that if I name a dog Enzo in a book, I won't be able to name our son Enzo. And she said to me, oh, wow, I hadn't even thought of that. So she was very gentle. She was very nice with me. She said, listen, this dog is your new baby. Name him Enzo. And when we have a new baby, we'll find the right name for him or her. And of course, she was right, as usual. Enzo is the perfect name for the dog, and so I went with that. And we did have another baby, and he did turn out to be a boy. And no, we did not name him Juan Pablo. We named him Dashiell, which I think is a pretty good name. I mean, he's pretty cool. He's really a Dashiell kid. It suits him perfectly. Honestly, I think we all came out ahead in the deal, but I do feel somewhat manipulated by the process. All right, I'm going to read one more quick section here just because it's the art of racing in the rain, and I can't let you go without doing some racing. The book is not about racing, for those of you who have read it. It's a family drama. Racing is a backdrop, but there definitely is racing in it. And sometimes people may approach the book and say, I'm not interested in a book about racing. Why would I like that? It's going to be too technical or something like this. I'm going to read you right now the hardest core racing possible in the book. And so if you haven't read the book yet and you can get through this chapter, you're going to be okay.